Of our regular scheduled board meeting to order. And let's welcome Corinth Elementary to lead us in the pledge. Come on in. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Will you come on around to the podium and introduce yourselves to us?
Good evening. Thank you for having us here this evening. My name is Michelle Lord, and I'm the principal at Corinth Elementary. And tonight we have our courtesy crew with us.
And if you have like a favorite class or a favorite lunch meal item, something like that, just share.
My name is Gianna Gibson, and my favorite class is math, and I like the French toast sticks.
Hi, my name is Emma Stover. I am in 6th grade and I love math.
Hi, I'm Claire McInerney. I'm in 6th grade, and my favorite subject is math.
All right.
Hi, my name is Lexi Simino, and my favorite subject is math.
All right.
Hi, my name is Briley Loing and my favorite subject is math.
Hi, I'm Zach Siders and I'm a 6th grader and my favorite subject is math.
All right, who's that math teacher you got? That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm Ariana Quigley. I'm the instructional coach at Corinth, and I coordinate Courtesy Crew, but we definitely couldn't do it without them. They spend 20 minutes every morning getting young students out of their car into their classroom, and we're very grateful for them.
And someone will tell the math teacher.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here. Have a great week. All right, if there are no changes to the agenda, could I seek a motion to adopt? All right, second?
Second, Hembry.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And we have Mr. Stratton and Ms. Goodburn joining us by phone. Our neighbors to Ms. Boyd Nerona are just calling it. Okay. All right, so that brings us to the superintendent report. Dr. Hubbard.
Yes, thank you. So we're nearing the end of first quarter. I really can't believe that it's already the end of first quarter, and I'm thrilled to have numerous accomplishments for us to celebrate today. The United States Department of Education recognized Roseland Elementary School as a National Blue Ribbon School for 2023. They are only one of 353 schools in the nation and 4 schools in Kansas to receive this honor this year. Schools are selected based on an overall academic performance or progress in closing achievement gaps among student groups on assessments. Roseland received the designation of Exemplary High-Performing School. We congratulate Principal Kelly Swift and all Roseland educators, families, and students on this incredible accomplishment. We are thrilled to announce that 142 Shawnee Mission students have earned the Seal of Biliteracy. This is a recognition given to students who have attained proficiency in 2 or more languages by high school graduation. Shawnee Mission demonstrated an increase of nearly 30% over last year's Seal of Biliteracy earnings. Shawnee Mission West nearly tripled, and Shawnee Mission North nearly doubled the number of students who earned the seal. We are so proud of all the students who have gained this readiness skill for college and careers. Our teachers shine in so many ways, and recently we had the joy of recognizing 2 who are already shining as they begin their careers. Liz Palmer, a 2nd grade teacher at Rose Hill Elementary, and Brennan Mills, an English language arts teacher at Indian Woods Middle School, are Shawnee Mission's honorees for the Kansas Horizon Awards program. They are now being considered to be Kansas Horizon Award recipients. The Kansas State Department of Education will select 32 teachers across the state to be Horizon Award winners. So we're hopeful for these 2 shining stars to be one of those 32. We're thrilled to honor a group of Shawnee Mission High School students who have been named semifinalists in the National Merit Program. These students are among 16,000 semifinalists in the United States, representing less than 1% of United States high school seniors. They will advance in competition for National Merit Scholarship Awards worth nearly $28 million. The National Scholastic Press Association named 33 students from 5 Shawnee Mission high schools as finalists in the 2023 Individual Awards competition. These student journalists represented 10% of the awards presented nationwide. Additionally, Amy Morgan, Shawnee Mission West Journalism Advisor, was awarded the Journalism Education Association Medal of Merit this year for her 20 years of service to the program through teaching and advising students all over the country during workshops. We are proud of all these accomplishments, and we will include a link in the recap so you can see the names of all of the students honored. Shawnee Mission's cyber competition teams claimed the top spots in Wichita State's Capture the Flag event. After 27 hours of online competition, 9 Shawnee Mission students on 2 teams ultimately claimed the top spots. They sent us the visuals of their scoreboard in the progress, which you can see here. They solved multiple technical challenges in competition with 14 teams. We congratulate all of these students representing all of our high schools and their coach, Jessica Tickle. This October, our theme for Read Across SMSD is Champion the Freedom to Read. Let's take a look.
Hello everyone. We are very excited to introduce you to our October Read Across SMSD theme.
The theme this month is Champion the Freedom to Read, and it's a time for all of us to celebrate books and reading.
I'm Kim Hinkle, and I'm here with my co-host, Ed Marquez. Ed and I both work for the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation. We believe reading is so important that we work to provide books to children from the day they are born to the time they graduate and reach adulthood.
That's right. Young children receive their own books to keep through Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, and we provide Read Across SMSD books to all Shawnee Mission schools. This month's elementary Read Across book is A Land of Books, Dreams of Young Mexica, Word Painters by Duncan Donatiu. It tells the story of a young Mexica girl and boy who learn about the practice of creating books at the House of Books.
Today, we are also going to celebrate some very important people in our community who champion the freedom to read. Our school librarians. We are joined by Belinder Elementary School librarian, Wendy Oviatt. Wendy, can you tell us how you support the readers at your school?
I have the best job. Every day I get to connect students to books. As a librarian, I teach students about anything and everything related to literature. I help students find books that allow them to explore and learn. I also strive to foster a love of reading that will stay with them for a lifetime. One of the best parts of my job is when I connect a student with a book that has a special meaning for them, because they see themselves or part of their own story in the pages. I know that when students have a personal connection to a book, it's even more likely they will keep reading. I have some Belinder students with me today who want to share some special books that they connected with at Belinder.
My name is Naomi Oliver, and I connected with the book Planet Earth is Blue by Nicole Pantalikos because there are times when everyone feels alienated at least once in their life, and this book shows that you're not alone in that.
My name is Miles Clark, and Mrs. Oviatt helped me find the book I Am Every Good Thing. This book makes me feel good. I was really happy to see someone like me in this book.
My name is Alex Gannon. I connected with the book The Extra Yard by Mike Lupica because everyone has a friend who gets hurt and you want them to get better. Sometimes you have to do what they were supposed to do when they can't.
My name is Aiden Nazir. One of the books I connected with is Soy by Lupita Nyong'o. In this book, the main character learns to love the color of her skin. My mom is white and my dad is black, and I have a mix of both in my skin color. I also like that this book talks about culture.
Thank you so much, Wendy, Naomi, Miles, Alex, and Ada. We hope you keep looking for your next favorite book and champion the freedom to read.
Let's
read across SMSD.
Thanks again to Wendy Oviatt, Belinder Elementary School librarian. I will tell you the smile that you see on her face and the interaction with those kids. That's what you see every time you walk into Belinder Elementary Library. I love to go in all of our libraries, but that one has a special place for me. She is so amazing to watch her interaction with kids. So I'm so excited to see her in this video. And also a special thanks to Kim and Ed and everyone at the foundation for their ongoing support and providing books to students. We also thank NEA for their ongoing partnership and support of Read Across SMSD. As this school year began, we were thrilled to see the creativity and talent of the Shawnee Mission staff and educators on display here at the Center for Academic Achievement. 30 staff members contributed to this year's art show. Shawnee Mission staff had the opportunity to submit their work for display, and if they chose, have it considered for entry into the permanent collection of the district, which is featured in the Center for Academic Achievement Gallery in May and June. We are pleased to announce that Caitlin Flager, art teacher at Hawker Grove, was selected as the winner this year for her three-dimensional work, Where the Bison Roam. We thank Megan Ellis, visual arts coordinator, and Lenexa Hills art teacher for coordinating this art show. We also thank art teachers and all of the faculty and staff who entered their artworks. We also thank the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation for purchasing the art for the collection and for providing a grant to Ms. Flager's art department at Hawker Grove in recognition of her selection. Last Thursday, we were excited to share episode 5 of Shawnee Mission Mic'd Up. We know how much our community enjoys homecoming parades, and we were so glad to have the opportunity to talk to some of our student leaders who helped make these celebrations possible this fall. I hope everyone will check out episode 5. You can watch the YouTube video or download or subscribe. We're always open to episode ideas and welcome feedback from our listeners. So we'll include a link in the recap to connect you to Shawnee Mission Mic'd Up. Since our last meeting, the community gathered for the annual fall breakfast on September 13th. I enjoyed being interviewed by Shawnee Mission North Senior Miguel Tabia Becerra and Trail Ridge Middle School 7th grader Charlie Walsh all about the wonderful things that happen in Shawnee Mission. They were amazing. It was a great event with more than 1,000 students, educators, and community members celebrating all the ways we shine in Shawnee Mission. The foundation also shared highlights about Leadership Shawnee Mission, Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, and the Scholarship Shawnee Mission. But the best part for me were all those amazing kids that we either saw perform or speak or just interview. It was great. Speaking of which, the foundation hosted Scholarship Shawnee Mission just last week. Through this program, high school juniors and seniors receive scholarship offers before they have even applied to schools. The foundation announced this year that 97% of juniors and seniors opted into the program, and 100% of those students received at least one offer. In total, our Shawnee Mission students received more than $3 billion in scholarship offers. We know this will provide tremendous opportunities and options for our students' future. We thank the foundation for all they do for our Shawnee Mission students. And that concludes my report, Dr. Sinclair.
Thank you, Dr. Hubbard. I believe our Chief Communication Officer, Mr. David Smith, has a slight addendum to our superintendent's report.
Good evening, Board. On Friday, October 6th, the Kansas School Superintendents Association announced the 3 finalists for the 2024 Kansas Superintendent of the Year. There were 16 individuals nominated by their peers. 9 of those individuals completed the rigorous application process. Those applications were reviewed by a select KSSA committee, and they narrowed it to 3 finalists. Those finalists are Dr. Kellen Adams, who is superintendent in Leavenworth, Mr. Don Potter, who is superintendent in Circle, and our own beloved superintendent, Dr. Michelle Hubbard.
Thank you. I would just say that there are so many amazing superintendents across the state of Kansas fighting the fight that I feel very honored to be on this list. So thank you all.
And we have the most exceptional leader here with us, so thank you. Okay. All right, that brings us to discussion item 3.1, Student and Family Services Program Update.
Dr. Hubbard.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to share this great work with you all tonight. We have, it looks like Dr. Ziegler, Dr. McKinney, Caitlin, looks like some teachers in the room. I see a parent for sure, and maybe a few others. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Dr. Ziegler to start.
All right, good evening. I'm going to invite our team and highly esteemed guests up to grab a chair, and we will do introductions here in just a second. See if our clicker can connect. We'll give it a little wait time. There we go. All right, we are off. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to be with you and share an update on the work within the Student Family Services team. As you may know, we align the work of our team to the strategic plan and highlight our strength and connection specifically to strategy 2. We will relentlessly create a fully unified, equitable, and inclusive culture. At the heart of our work is found in our continued service and support to all students and families in our culturally and linguistically diverse district, as well as supporting the student services team members, educators, and support team members that are serving in each of our schools. The work that we'll share tonight is largely the result of connection and continued collaboration across our system. Simply put, our team's work does not happen without the connections with and to others. We participate in ongoing collaboration across many district teams, including leadership and learning, curriculum instruction and assessment, and human resources to ensure the needs of all of our learners are being met. This evening, you will hear examples of the touch points that occur across departments and teams through continued project work that supports every student, achieving academic success, developing and utilizing personal resilience, and developing interpersonal skills to be engaged, empathetic members of our community. As you heard in September from the HR team in their report, we believe also that our people are our greatest resource. Whether our work is focused on the families, students, or support for our colleagues, we as a team continue to strive in creating spaces where all feel welcome, valued, celebrated, and safe. We began the year with a focus on belonging as the outcome of our work. You'll hear more about that later in some of the presentations from our team this evening. It's our belief that in attending to the cultivation and support of spaces where all feel welcome, valued, celebrated, and safe, that belonging will also result. You'll hear from team members this evening that speak to why this is so important in maintaining strong connections with our students, our staff, and our families. This year, our entire district administrative team focused on developing wildly important goals. The HR team shared a little bit about that in the last report. There are 2 at the district level that we all support. WIG 1 is to increase student achievement and performance for all students, and WIG 2 is to improve the social and emotional well-being of students. Our Families and Student Services team developed a connecting WIG to focus our work and support the work to increase student achievement and social and emotional well-being, with a focus on our continued professional growth around a culture of belonging. Our presentation this evening will focus on several key elements of the work that's articulated in the full program report. So we just picked some highlights to share with you this evening from that larger report. With us this evening are members of the team, as well as some special guests. I'd like to introduce those present this evening. Dr. John McKinney, Director of Family and Student Services. Mrs. Caitlin Schulman, our Coordinator of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. We have Haley Jeffries. Haley represents the Shawnee Mission Area Council PTA as DEI Coordinator and also as a parent of students in the district. We have Martha Ayala. Martha serves as a teacher at Rose Hill Elementary, serving our English language learners, and also has several other roles in the district that she serves in leadership for. We also have Brenna Sandifer, Trailwood Elementary Social Worker, and Elizabeth Johnsrud, Trail Ridge Middle School. I have Trailwood and Trail Ridge sitting together, so let me work through that personally. Trail Ridge Middle School Counselor. So we invited members of our extended team and connections to our parent community to help share some of the work that's happening in Student Family Services. So the key pillars that we're going to talk about tonight focus on student support, information including a focus on social emotional learning, the work of the Cornerstone Cadre, and some of our work around supporting 504 accommodation plans in the schools, the ongoing work with diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, as well as examples of family support and engagement activities occurring in the district, which was a goal for us to continue and increase support for this year. So I'd like to go ahead and turn over to Dr. McKinney, and he will provide an update on work related to social emotional character development standards, as well as a quick review of our panorama results and an update on 504 accommodations.
Thank you, Dr. Ziegler. Thank you, Dr. Ziegler. Thank you, board. Thank you, Dr. Hubbard. Social and emotional character development involves the processes through which children and adults acquire and effectively apply the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. The phrase Maslow before Bloom is popular in education circles, and it's typically used to communicate how students need their basic needs met before academic learning can be fully embraced. Students who report higher social and emotional competencies have significantly higher reading and math scores and weighted school GPAs. They experience lower rates of suspension and absenteeism. They're less likely to be at risk for dropping out, and they're more likely to graduate on time. Moreover, staff who work at schools and in school districts with high buy-in for SEL report significantly less work stress and burnout than staff who work at schools where SEL buy-in is lower. The Department of Student and Family Services would like to thank Dr. Hubbard and the board for recognizing that a student's social and emotional well-being is an essential part of their education. You understand that the best schools and school districts foster students' academic, social, and emotional competencies. And so as a district, we are committed to ensuring that every student and family has access to high-quality mental health support and resources, educating all school staff about trauma and mental health, involving the school community in efforts to support students and staff, paying attention to the mental health needs of our school staff, and continuing to monitor and address the many and varied needs of our students and our families. Here you see a picture of all Shawnee Mission School District counselors and social workers. Shawnee Mission employs 55 masters in clinical level social workers and 40 counselors, primarily at the secondary level, including 5 real-world learning counselors. During the 22-23 school year, school counselors and social workers logged over 50,000 guidance-related interactions with classes and individual students. This figure includes over 11,000 entries categorized under social-emotional support. During the current school year, school counselors and social workers will continue to meet and support the many and varied needs of our students and families and staff. During the 21-22 school year, we saw the addition of real-world counselors at the high school level. These counselors specialize on developing real-world learning opportunities for students as they prepare for college and careers. At the core of real-world learning are market value assets, or MVAs, which you've heard Dr. Fleury and others speak to before. And now I'd like to introduce Trailwood social worker Brenna Sandifor to talk a bit about her role as a social worker and how she supports students' safety, well-being, and sense of belonging each and every day. Ms. Sandifor?
There's a green light, okay. Hi, my name is Brenna. I'm the school social worker at Trailwood Elementary, and I really want to thank the board for giving me the opportunity to share tonight, and also for supporting social work and mental health services in the district by choosing to use funding to ensure that every elementary school in the district has a school social worker. In my 5 years in the district, I've gone from working in 3 buildings to getting to come to school every day in the same building. And this has really been invaluable for relationship building and also making sure that needed services are available to our students. So thank you very much for that. Social workers provide support to students at every tier of intervention, 1, 2, and 3. Social workers help to plan school-wide social emotional lessons and activities, such as mindful moments that some schools do weekly, planning themes and activities for Anti-Bullying Week that just wrapped up last week, or working with administration to plan assemblies around the district's monthly cornerstone themes. We might lead classroom lessons on teacher-related topics or help a grade level plan how they will handle issues like gossip or sportsmanship in their classes. Social workers lead groups that can range from targeting specific skills, like self-regulation strategies for managing big emotions, to lunch bunches that allow students to build friendships and social skills during their lunch hour. Social workers are an important part of the intervention team to assist those students whose behaviors or emotions are significantly impacting them in the classroom. We help build plans for intervention, teach skills to students, help them to regulate, and respond to crises in the building as needed. Crises in the building could range from a student experiencing behaviors that make them unsafe in the classroom, a student who has eloped or escaped from a classroom due to experiencing an anxiety attack, or a student that has expressed thoughts of self-harm and needs to be screened for safety. Social workers are not only working to support students inside the classroom, but to connect students and families to supports they need so that students can be present and ready for learning when they come into the school building. This might look like helping a family to connect with therapy or psychiatry resources they're seeking, connecting with resources to pay rent, or making a referral to Project Home with our wonderful McKinney-Vento liaison, David Armovich, so that we can stabilize family situations and prevent homelessness. Some social workers might come in on a Saturday once a month to organize a drive-through food pantry like Amanda Harlow at Comanche. Or every year might organize a way for an entire feeder pattern to get a Thanksgiving meal like Amy Nine does at Westridge. We know that students who are hungry or worried about where they are going to sleep that night are not fully present in the classroom to learn things like multiplication. By addressing these issues and other barriers that families face, we can help students stabilize and be ready to learn in their classrooms. So again, thank you so much for caring enough about our work to allow us to come and speak about it tonight. And I do really want to thank Dr. Ziegler for her support for family and student services. Dr. Ziegler shows up at meetings that I'm at, she knows what's going on and she's there and she's present. I really appreciate that. And I also want to thank Dr. McKinney. His support for counselors and social workers is unending, and he's really a wonderful advocate for student mental health and also just student and family needs in our district. So we have a really great team in Shawnee Mission in that area, I think, and I'm so grateful for it.
Thank you, Brenna. The social and emotional well-being of our students is not just a priority for the Shawnee Mission School District, but for Kansas as a whole. In the Kansas CAN Vision for Education, social emotional growth is one of the 5 measured outcomes set forth by the Kansas State Board of Education for schools in our state. The skills encompassed include intrapersonal and interpersonal abilities, such as self-awareness, social awareness, problem solving, and decision-making. These are skills that can be taught, and they are foundational to student success in school and in life. The Kansas CAN Vision for Education helps support the importance that schools measure the social emotional development of students just as academic development is measured. These measures can inform instructional practice, moving social and emotional learning from a singular endeavor to an integrated part of daily instruction. Through our Kansas Education Systems Accreditation, or KESA process, we are expected to measure and review progress toward goals set in the area of social emotional development for learners, which takes us to KESA and Panorama. As you know, the district just completed the Kansas Education Systems Accreditation process, or KESA, and included goals that drew from Panorama data. We've used the Panorama Social Emotional Learning Survey since 2019 and give the survey twice a year to students whose parents consent for them to take it in grades 3 through 12. On October 16th of this school year, we'll open the fall window for the survey, which will run through November 10th. Last year's KESA's goals were around interpersonal skills, which we measured by way of questions related to self-management. The goal was that by the end of the 22-23 school year, a minimum of 80% of students in grades 3 through 12 would demonstrate interpersonal skills important to life success, as evidenced by the self-management Panorama survey data. Data from the fall results showed that 75% of students in grades 3 through 6 responded favorably to questions about self-management. This was an increase of 1% from the previous spring. The second KISA goal was around personal resilience, which we measure by way of questions related to grit. The goal is that by the end of the 22-23 school year, a minimum of 60% of students in grades 3 through 12 would develop and utilize personal resilience skills as evidenced by the GRIT Panorama survey data. Data from the fall survey showed that 56% of students in grades 3 through 6 responded favorably to questions pertaining to GRIT competencies, an increase of 1% from the previous spring. The only area of decline in data was specific to the data in grades 3 through 6 for the subcategory of diversity and inclusion. While 77% of students responded favorably to questions in that category, the importance of the data is at the building level in providing a resource for schools to have deeper discussions and development around the diversity and awareness that exists in their respective classrooms. Continued work to recognize diversity and awareness of student and family cultures that are part of our school communities is a helpful next step that is supported by this team. We're also continuing to work with Panorama on clarity around the language in their questions, particularly for our younger grades and our younger students. And here you see those same two goals for grades 7 through 12. In the fall 2022 survey, 73% of students in grades 7 through 12 responded favorably to questions about self-management. This mirrored the spring results. And 52% of students in grades 7 through 12 responded favorably to questions pertaining to GRIT competencies in the fall survey, which was a 1% increase from spring results. And finally, here you see the fall 22-23 results for grades 7 through 12 about student-to-student and student-to-teacher relationships and their overall school climate. We saw an increase in all of those areas. Next, I want to share a little bit about incorporating social-emotional character development standards into our day-to-day work. You may have heard about the Cornerstone Cadre in previous presentations and reports. Over the past 3 years, a district cadre comprised of team members from across the district and led by Dr. Darren Dennis came together across the district to identify priority social-emotional character development standards for each grade level and develop rubrics that would help teachers measure student progress in each of those areas. Priority standards have been established at every grade level and come directly from KSDE's SECD standards. Last school year, we asked every school to incorporate one common standard or theme in their building. So for August, it was building community. This can be done in separate lessons, during morning meetings, for example, or embedded within an existing lesson. The idea is that every school is spending at least some time on one SECD standard a month, and in so doing, standards are taught and reinforced across the curriculum. The overall response and the creativity around weaving these important skills like friendship, community, self-management into our day-to-day work has been great and well received by schools, students, and parents. Throughout this past summer break, members of the Cornerstone Cadre identified and considered several K-12 SECD curricular programs. Second Step, Character Strong, Paths Emoji were chosen to be piloted in 14 elementary, middle, and high schools during the first semester of the 23-24 school year. In November, the Cornerstone Cadre will come back together and analyze the data collected during the pilot and determine which standards-based SECD curriculum will best meet the needs of the SMSD staff and students. To tell you a little bit more about this work, Elizabeth Johnsrud, counselor from Trail Ridge Middle School, is here to join us.
Thank you, Dr. McKinney, and thank you, Board and Dr. Hubbard, for having us all here. When I was little, I was the kid who always needed to know the why, to know the how and the steps, and so I just want to quickly share my why. You know, being a middle school counselor is not the job that everybody chooses or maybe thinks to choose, right? But I think every middle school counselor would truly say that we are the privileged ones in this district to step forward and be the person in our kids' lives when they're 12, 13, and 14 and need that adult the most. So I just want to talk just a little bit about a school counselor. We develop school counseling programs designed to prevent harmful behaviors while also taking proactive leadership to identify and intervene with students who demonstrate these behaviors. As counselors, we believe an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We believe it takes less energy to teach preventive methods than to pick up the pieces and repair the situation. So we truly hope to help kids build a trusted community before a crisis occurs. So my work as a counselor, similar to Brenna, happens at 3 tiered levels of support. And we start at the tier 1 of helping the whole group learn what we want them to learn. So through the Cornerstone Cadre, we have developed a team that creates lessons that we teach during our Wildcat Hour. So every middle school has an advisory period to start the day, and we break that up and have a social emotional character lesson. We do seminar time to work on our grades, and we usually have some other school-related lessons. So our team of 2 teachers, an instructional coach, and my other counselor and social worker get to create lessons based on these SECD standards. And so we create them, we push them out to our teachers, and our teachers do a beautiful job of creating a culture within their Wildcat Hour community to then have these conversations throughout the school year. And that really creates one method of communication, right? We all have a common language that our teachers are using and that our students are using, and then that teacher can be the safe person for their 20, 21, 22 kids to have these conversations about what self-management really means. So we got to teach kids what's within their control and what's not within their control, and really to teach middle schoolers that when it's not within their control, that they don't pick that up. And this month we're working on relationships, so helping our kids feel like they have a safe person, that they know who they can go to, and that they truly belong in our building. Because like Dr. McKinney talked about, creating that belonging and inclusion, we know helps our kids come to school ready to learn. Also, being a counselor means that at the tier 1 level, I can reach all kids who maybe need any caring adult. If that's not enough, then we move on to a tier 2 group of small group of students. And then if they need just a little bit more, we move on to tier 3 and have individual conversations. But having these lessons created and based on the information through the Cornerstone Cadre means that I can then know what my teachers are teaching and follow up with that same conversation and say, hey, in your Wildcat Hour, we learned about this, and now you had a life situation, and let's work through it. And so we can really help kids move forward in a really important time in their life. So our hope as the Cornerstone Cadre is to find a curriculum that's pre-K to 12th grade and can service the needs of all students, that can be taught by a teacher, that can be taught by a social worker, that can be taught by a counselor, and really give that common language so that when 4-year-olds enter into pre-K, they're learning things, and then every year they build, get to their senior year, and hopefully we are sending well-rounded, whole learners onto their next step, that they are ready for whatever that can be. And that they can have these really necessary life skills for that step of college or a career or a technical school. Our hope is that as a district, we can all be on the same page and give that pre-K to 12 curriculum and really give what our students need. So thank you guys for all of your work and supporting us. Thank you, Dr. Ziegler, who's fantastic and supports us, and Dr. McKinney and how you support us. I mean, Brenna said it, but we really feel like the most privileged people to work in this district and to step in and help kids with what they need. So thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you for clarifying all of the curriculum being considered for pilots or that are a part of the pilot program right now and are being considered are pre-K through 12. Next, the Department of Student and Family Services also maintains Section 504 plan data and supports buildings as they work to ensure plans are being implemented with fidelity across the district. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 is a civil rights law that bans disability discrimination. It's also the law that provides 504 plans. If a student is determined to have a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits a major life activity, a written 504 plan can be developed outlining services and/or modifications designed to provide equal access and enable the student to participate in district programs and activities, both in and outside the classroom. As you can see, the increase that we've experienced in 504 requests and plans continues to increase, and this reflects a trend that is not unique to SMSD. In fact, it reflects a trend that we're seeing nationally. A number of factors may be contributing to this increase, including increased parental awareness and awareness of the need to support mental and physical health for learners. We continue to provide support through the district and building level family and student service team members, as well as increased professional development with our building and district administrators. This is a trend that is recognized broadly in education over the last few years, and again, not necessarily unique to Shawnee Mission. And now to speak to diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging in the school district, our coordinator of DEIB, Caitlin Shulman.
Thank you, Dr. McKinney. I apologize. I'm coming off a cold, so I'm a little congested there, but I'm excited to be here tonight and share a little bit more about our DEIB work. So this year, we are really working to define our focus and deepen our work to ensure that student voices are heard and ensure that all students achieve at their highest levels of success. Along with Strategy 2 at the heart of our work, we are focusing on the idea of establishing a culture of belonging for all members of the SMSD community. We are continuing to support an internal, sustainable model that includes administrators, building DEIB teams, and equity practitioners working collaboratively to support ongoing professional learning for all staff. This continued development of this layered DEIB system of support comes with the growth of our equity practitioners team and DEI building teams, which I'm going to share about in more detail on my next slide. Additionally, we are working to foster a school environment of caring, connection, and belonging. So we are working to build up communication loops with our affinity group spaces, so more frequent communication and collaboration to support these spaces and make them accessible to all. We are also focused on creating opportunities to elevate student voice and finding spaces for students to share their input. I'm happy to share that during my interview process, there were 2 students who actively joined to participate in the interview and had the opportunity to share feedback in their deliberation process. We plan to continue to develop structures and systems to have more student voice and representation in decision-making spaces. Finally, I shared during our HR board report that we have a continued focus on the recruitment and retention of a diverse staff and creating a more inclusive workspace. So here you can see some pictures from our equity practitioner team meeting, and I'm excited to share that we have grown our equity practitioner team from 30 members to nearly double, and we have an equity practitioner or an equity practitioner duo at each building. Equity practitioners act as building level facilitators and district liaisons trained to deliver content, provide guidance, and facilitate support and learning for building teams on the district DEIB efforts. Equity practitioners are all members of their DEIB teams who meet monthly to collaborate, plan, and support coordinating our work within building goals and WIGs to continue professional collaboration and growth. Practitioners are also working in specialty groups in these more defined areas to help move the work forward. We also plan to continue dedicated professional development time for our DEI building teams. Equity practitioners are working collaboratively with their teams to deliver professional learning to all staff at building PD opportunities. Each semester, DEIB teams will also have the opportunity to come together, dig into their building data, and plan how to implement more professional learning with their respective schools. And finally, this evening, we wanted to share a little bit about the work we are doing around our school-based family engagement activities. We are excited to share about a partnership with the Latinx Education Collaborative and Revolution Educativa for an Educatech program we are offering for parents. That is a parent technology workshop focused on some basic computer skills for Spanish-speaking families on 6 Saturdays. We've already had 3 sessions, and they were all completely full. We are also happy to share that we have our final session of our free mobile wellness fair, which is a partnership with Shawnee Parks and Rec, Advent Health, and Mercy and Truth Medical Mission to provide wellness opportunities for families of the Shawnee and Trail Ridge communities. Harvesters is providing food. The Johnson County Health Department is providing blood pressure screenings. The K-State Extension Office is providing healthy snacks and recipes. The Johnson County Library is providing free books, and Mercy and Truth Medical Mission is providing school physicals, immunizations, and free flu shots. I'm going to pass it now along to Martha, who is our teacher at Rose Hill. She's also a parent and a Latinx affinity group facilitator to share about some other events.
Good evening. As Ms. Schulman said, I'm Martha Ayala, an ELL teacher at Rose Hill Elementary. I have been in this role for 5 years now. And when I started at Rose Hill 5 years ago, as a title school, we serve many families who qualify for free and reduced lunches. We are required to have so many family engagement nights, and one of those nights that our school had selected to do was a cultural night. The first year I was not a part of organizing that, as that was my first year and I was just trying to get the role under my belt. But the next year I started a leadership program with Dr. Schumacher, and I remember during one of those classes we were asked about what are some goals and dreams we have for our own building, and I had listed some, and he asked me, have you shared that with anyone? And I hadn't. So I went to my principal and said, hey, that cultural night that you did this last year, can I be a part of it? As a building, I'm also part of our DEIB team, and so we do lots of professional development within our school building, just as teachers, how to better serve our students who come from all different backgrounds. And we serve many students who are not native to Kansas City, to the United States. We have more than 10 languages represented at Rose Hill. And so the richness and diversity in our school is ever present, but it wasn't celebrated enough. And so we really wanted to make sure that our students and their families were able to share a part of themselves that they may not always get a chance to share in the academic setting. And so we went to our principal, and she was very supportive of having this event, and that's when we reached out. I believe it was our principals who had, so Jen Duke at Rose Hill and Michelle Lord at Corinth, who reached out and connected, and we were able then to jump on with the Corinth PTA and start organizing the next cultural night. And so our goal was really to make sure that our families were heard and celebrated. And with that, we've been able to host 3 cultural nights together. So not only are we celebrating our own families and community, but we're able to partner with a school from across the district who looks very different from us. And so this year, it is this Wednesday. So you all are invited to come share in that experience with us. We have 7 families signed up who share about their culture, about their country, their native country, where they're from. We have activities for the students and their families to participate in, and we are also able to bring in performers. We have a Brazilian group performing this year, a Colombian dance group, and the Gateway High Steppers from KCK, which is a drill team, and just fantastic energy that ends the night. And the biggest thing that our kids always come back to say is how fun it is, not only that they get to participate in this, but that their families get to share in their culture and who they are as a whole person. So we are very thankful for our principals being on board with this, the support of both of the PTAs who help fund and make this happen. And I don't know if Haley wants to add anything else about that.
It's backwards. Hi, Haley Jeffrey. PTA, I was on PTA Corinth last year, the PTA president. This year I am SMAC DEI coordinator. So as Martha was saying, Corinth actually started their DEI committee in 2020, and we knew we wanted to do a cultural night. We had no idea how. Corinth is a we have about 8% diversity. So we knew we needed to find another school that had differing stats, diversity, demographic stats. And our principals, as Martha said, connected, and they had already had one. They had already had a cultural night, and so we were just kind of jumping on the bandwagon to grow it. And now our third year, it's become this amazing, wonderful event for both of our families. It really brings two schools together as one Shawnee mission. And it celebrates the tapestry of our rich cultures and ethnicities, and you see the veil of judgments melt away as the students get to interact and learn about other cultures and try the food, and they hear the music, and they're a part of the activities, and they're connecting with all of the other families that they normally wouldn't have any kind of interactions with, because sometimes we get stuck in our bubble. And it's been an amazing journey throughout this. And like Martha said, we have it this Wednesday as our third annual. Corinth also does pen pals with Rose Hill, and that's kind of our hook that we wanted our families to connect at the event. That's kind of why we wanted them to come, and that has really opened conversations at our school specifically when it comes to names. Something as basic as a name that our kids may not have heard before, or Rose Hill kids may not have heard before. It sounds small, but it's a very big conversation of how a name is different, because now our students will hear another person's name, and they won't say, "Why is that name?" Whatever the name, I don't throw a name out there, but why is that name that? Instead, they say, "Oh, my pen pal had that name." So it changes that perspective of our students. And some of the other, we got our faculty together as well, and they connected. So we've really turned Rose Hill into our buddy school. And outside of Rose Hill connections, we do other pen pal programs with Kansas City International Academy. They are over 90% refugees. We have ethnic restaurant night for our families. We have book club for our families. We have, affinity, a BIPOC affinity group. We have, what else do we have? Book club, Spanish club we started. So we've really, when we started this, we didn't know what we were doing. We knew we wanted to educate and expose our families to those that are outside of our bubble, and it has really grown, and we are excited to share with other schools and get them connected.
And I'm going to share about one more event before I turn it back over to Dr. Ziegler. I also wanted to highlight our bilingual event that happened in September. It was where 20 different local organizations, including colleges, universities, El Centro, the Johnson County Public Library, Growing Futures, all came together to share information and resources to support the bilingual families in Shawnee Mission. I wanted to give a shout out to the Director of Health Services, Paula Bund, and Leanne Neal, that were so kind to help support the event. It was also helped organized by Connie Springfield and Elizabeth Alt, and a big shout out to all the ELL teachers and translators from across the district who helped promote the event with our students and families, and even came to the event. And we look forward to seeing this event grow.
As we close our presentation, this team shares an abundance of gratitude to the team members here this evening and across the district for their ongoing commitment to serve our learning community and share how they are shining. This is certainly some great information tonight that warms my heart to hear about all the connections and supports for students from our guests this evening. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to share the story. We're proud of the continued work at the district and building level, as well as support and partnership with Shawnee Mission Area Council PTA leaders to support all of our students and our learners, our students and families. We believe continued efforts align directly with the district beliefs as articulated in the strategic plan on the screen before you. So thank you to the board, to Dr. Hubbard for your continued support in the work and allowing us to share and update this evening. We're happy to take any questions that you might have for us.
Do you want to start off? Okay. I think I'm going to start us off tonight, and I'm going to circle around to this, the way the opening of this update was framed in terms of thinking about the wildly important goals and looking at LEAD
indicators versus lag indicators. And I noticed that was in our last update. So I really appreciate those two. But before I jump back to that, I just have to do a few acknowledgments because, you know, this report and hearing about this work, it just, every time, you know, we talk about this, you can just feel like the next level work that's being done and how progress from last year is getting built upon and taken to the kind of that next level. And so even just thinking about, you know, Brenna, about your observation about being able to be in one building the whole time, and maybe recognizing if there's a new family to the school because you've had an opportunity to build that, and they might not be there on that first day of school the next year, and knowing, hey, this family's supposed to be here, maybe I can find out what's going on and make sure they get here for the first day so those kids can have a nice transition. And Elizabeth, I was just thinking about how you're, you know, with the curriculum cadres and identifying, you know, 1 month it's going to be building community and the next it's self-management. And so you can work with those kids and draw on and reinforce that curriculum as you're kind of working with them, whether it's in a tier 1 or tier 3 intervention. Caitlin, I just love to just even the acknowledgement that there were 2 students that were on the interview committee. I mean, think about the work that's gone into bringing Shawnee Mission students into that level of systems awareness that they can participate on an interview process. And Martha and Haley, just even, you know, not only kind of having those events, but growing that into the pen pal and fostering that communication between kids. And just the acknowledgement of ongoing professional development. So that's kind of where I want to take it back to Dr. Ziegler and Dr. McKinney. Just what are the lead indicators? Is that just really the professional development, the instructional? How does that play into helping us understand we're in the right direction?
I think
going in the right direction.
I'll start and then you can add too, I think. But my initial response is those lead measures are helping us stay focused on the work that needs to happen to keep us in connection and in communication. So you'll see things like part of the work in there in terms of scheduling time with our instructional coaches and our equity practitioners and building teams so that they can come together and receive professional learning, but also be part of a feedback loop for us to inform where the work needs to go next. So kind of an ongoing iterative process there is how we went about looking at lead measures. There's a lot of ways that we can look at data to measure the work, but we also know there's lots of intervening variables, so it's really hard to have clean numbers. So we looked at opportunities where we have connection points through professional development and communication with our teams.
Completely agree. Completely agree with what Dr. Ziegler said. And also I think that it helps that our staff, our building teams, our teachers and social workers and counselors and all the folks that are involved in this work are seeing it from a district level as well. We're starting at the top and making this a priority from strategy 2, from the district positions all the way down. And so I think that helps as well, that they know that they have the support and the advocacy at the district level to do this really important work and stay with it, because it is hard and it's challenging. But I think that having that district support from Dr. Schumacher's office, Dr. Ziegler's office, all the way to those of us that are practitioners in the buildings and beyond, I think that helps a lot.
Just one other observation I wanted to make too is that in looking at the McKinney-Vento data and looking at students where housing was found or preventing homelessness from last year to even this year when we had that huge spike in inflation and so families were losing their homes, those numbers went, you know, that there were almost 300 FAMP students prevented from homelessness. Yeah. That's 100 more than last year. So that's a time that's worrisome, but you all really prevented that homelessness and, you know, found homes for 30 kids. So that was a really challenging time, and it's just impressive that we were able to build those supports around our families. So thank you for that. Okay,
Who else has questions? Thank you for letting me go first. Okay, Ms. Borgman? Oh, wait. Oh, Ms. Boyd-Norena. Right.
I always like to start acknowledging the fact that for 2 years I was an ELL paraprofessional. And so when you talk about being in the classroom and really peeling back those layers and really looking at the other variables that aren't as evident as to why children aren't learning, or the component of the family unit really being the glue that helps helps them thrive, actually. So I always love when you look at that, and I was trying to think what words capitalize that, and I thought it's a global grassroots kind of perspective, where it's you're coming up. Dr. McKinney mentioned that it's the higher level going down, but from you all's perspective in the classroom, it's a global grassroots perspective. And so it always warms my heart when you all present and talk from that perspective, because I still remember the first time I attended an international event a couple of years ago. And I still remember the impact of the faces and the families that were able to show up and support that. So thank you, and I applaud from the classroom and outside of the classroom, PTA, admin, of just seeing that and knowing the impact and importance of that. So not necessarily a question, but wanted to just show the appreciation from myself, and I'm sure it resonates with the board as well, and the appreciation for that.
All right, Ms. Borgman? Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the great presentation. I appreciate you all being here and sharing your perspective. I'm a big Brene Brown fan, and she always talks about naming things, right? And so I know there's a faction of people that believe that anytime they hear DEIB, they get nervous, right? It sets up their little antennas, and they just automatically get, concerned, I guess we'll say. I think there's a belief by some that when you hear DEIB, you think there's people are being taught that there's victims and oppressors and those kinds of things. And so I think this is a really great opportunity to talk about what exactly, and you have done such an eloquent job of doing so tonight. Anything that you would like to comment around maybe just people's thoughts and views on maybe a false narrative versus what actually DEIB represents and stands for?
Go for it. All right. Well, I also luckily have a equity practitioner and a DEIB team member with me too, so feel free to jump in as well. In my mind, DEIB work is focused on work that is good for all students. When I shared a little bit about that, the graphic on slide 14, which has kind of been like my driving way to describe what we're doing, diversity is a fact. We have a very diverse school district. Kids come to us in all different shapes and sizes, and there's nothing really to debate about that. That's just a fact. Equity is the choice. So being thoughtful of including different perspectives, making sure voices are heard, and kind of thinking about our policies and protocols that we have in place. We make a choice to make changes so that all students can participate and have what they need to be successful. That also comes with inclusion. Inclusion is that action. So what are we doing to make sure that we do include all different kinds of peoples and perspectives? And then finally, belonging is the outcome. So kind of how we started this presentation, if we are doing all of those things, we are trying to help our students feel like they have that sense of belonging, in every classroom and every place that they are in the Shawnee Mission community. So that's what it means to me as far as DEIB work. I think it's for all people and for all students. Anybody else want to jump in?
I'm a district practitioner with the district for that as well. I also just thought of that visual. I think that visual, that kind of description of what the words mean is really important and really speaks to the essence of that. And also that, you know, when we talk in our school building about this work, every teacher wants every student in their classroom to feel a sense of belonging and to know that they are a part of that community. And that's, to me, that's really what it means, is that all people, all of our diverse population, which is a fact of, you know, who we are as a district, that they all feel included and part of that, and that that outcome is belonging. So there's kind of work there, right, from the diversity to the belonging piece, and that is, to me, what that work is about.
I think the only thing that I would add is just to reinforce, we have students at the heart of our work, but we also have employees and we have families that represent diverse cultures and backgrounds as well. So we've talked about all. It's about all of our connection points, whether it's a student, a family, or a staff member, to feel like they have that ability to feel safe, valued, and that they belong. And we talked in the early few years of the strategic plan and our professional development about tone and trust. And a lot of this work is seated in developing tone and trust. And that really is about our climate and our culture, and getting to a place where we can have productive, meaningful discussions, that if we see something that we could do better to be more inclusive, to be more equitable, to ensure belonging for those that we are serving in our schools, then our hope is we've developed the tone and trust to have those conversations where we may not all be in agreement about what we're seeing, but at least we can elevate and start to have the conversations in productive, healthy ways. So never about separating or dividing, but always striving to be together to better serve.
Beautifully stated. Thank you.
All right. Okay, Ms. Housley?
The trend line on the Section 504 plans almost doubling in the last 4 years. And I know Section 504 accommodations or modifications can be really simple things that don't cost money, you know, like if you need to use the restroom more frequently or that sort of thing, where that is a really easy thing to provide. But there can also be costs associated with 504 plans, and it is interesting or disconcerting to see the large upswing at a time when special education funding is not what it needs to be. And so I guess my question is, do we see that leveling out potentially? Is there, you know, I know Dr. McKinney, you said potentially it's about parents understanding what their rights are, but the Rehabilitation Act has been around for a while. So it's probably not simply just in the last few years parents have realized what their rights are with regards to access to that. So is it possible that maybe we had this upswing due to perhaps issues related to COVID or the pandemic or traumas or something? Are we leveling out? Do we anticipate it continuing to rise? And I realize you don't have a crystal ball, but you're in the buildings and on the ground. So I guess my question is, what is our feeling about that in particular?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I do think that there's greater access to information about the 504 plan and what it is and the process for initiating a request for an evaluation. In 2009, the ADA expanded the significant or substantial disabilities that now qualified for a 504, and also sort of broadened the definition of substantially as well. And so in doing that, it allowed for sort of greater access to the 504, much more so than, you know, an individualized education plan through special education. So the pandemic, greater understanding of and access to information about the 504 evaluation process, a broader sort of ability to request a 504 and potentially have that 504 implemented. It is important to note, though, that a 504, when it provides equal access, that extends beyond what is already being provided within our schools, in our classrooms, to every student. So, you know, we wouldn't create an accommodation for something that's already taking place in a building and already readily available for every student. For example, if a teacher allows a student extended time on every assignment, then that wouldn't necessarily be an accommodation that's necessary because it's available to everyone. So I think all of those things are resulting in the increase that we're seeing over the last 3 years. And again, it's not just Shawnee Mission, it's nationally is seeing the same uptick in 504 requests and 504 plans. I would be reluctant to say whether or not it's going to continue on that path or not. But I do think it's important that as District 504 coordinator, I continue to educate our principals, our administrators, our teachers, and our families on when a 504 is necessary and when it's not, and continuing to provide that education, that training, that greater understanding of the criteria around a 504, and when it is necessary to begin the evaluation process and implement accommodations, and when it's not, when it's something that we're already providing for all students. I need to continue to provide that training and that professional development for all staff, particularly our administrators who in Shawnee Mission oversee our 504 plans. We do annual training at the start of every school year with our administrators. And then in Shawnee Mission, we require annual reviews of our 504s every year. And so I'm frequently involved in those. And then every 3 years, we do a reevaluation. So it's possible that the uptick that we're seeing now, we may see that decrease over time as well as those reevaluations take place.
And just as the nuts and bolts for parents potentially watching at home, if you have a child with a disability that needs a 504 accommodation, you can talk to the social worker or counselor or principal in your building to start that process, or do they need to contact you directly as the 504 coordinator?
They would want to start with their building administrator and put something in writing and let them know that here is the diagnosis if they have one, and here's the concerns that we're seeing, and give that administrator and those teachers an opportunity to explain what is already being addressed and how. Before the evaluation process begins. But yeah, initially they would want to send something to the building administrator.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Okay, Ms. Hembury, and then I'll check in with Mr. Stratton and Ms. Goodburn.
Thank you.
Take your time.
Thank you guys so much for being here, first off. I'm super proud of our school district, and really, I have 3 kids in our schools, and I am excited to send them to school every day. Because I know what's happening, and it makes me thrilled for them that they have the opportunity they have in Shawnee Mission. My question is about the SECD standards. I see us moving to a place where we are elevating the importance of social and emotional growth. It's been prioritized by KISA. We're adopting district-wide curriculum, and we now have grade level standards. I'm curious what the process looks like to be communicating back with parents about how their kids are doing on SECD. I feel like as a parent, I can always tell you how my kid's doing on math, but if you ask me, how are they gritty or not? Right. Pretend that's not a phrase all the kids are saying about being gritty. But I wouldn't know the answer to that question, right? Like I wouldn't know as consistently how they're doing socially and emotionally in school. So how are we thinking about communicating back with parents as we get to some of those SECD standards?
I can touch on that initially. I really appreciate you asking that because it gives me an opportunity to share with you. That is a real focus for us this school year. With the initial window beginning October 16th and running through November 10th, we have spoke at length with Panorama about providing us those results back in a hard copy form that will then be provided to schools that can then be provided to parents. We're going to make that a priority. If we're going to continue to use the data and focus on the data during presentations like this and as part of our KISA accreditation and everything else, we need to make sure that we're providing that information to parents. So, I don't want to attribute the lack of clarity around that to the pandemic, but it was a little bit about the pandemic. We sort of stumbled our way through a couple of those surveys because as a result of House Bill 2567, we did see a change in the consent process for non-academic surveys, which we had to make some adjustments for, but we have those in place now. And I'm happy to say that during this last consent process, during school registration, we saw the highest percentage of parents consent for their 3rd through 12th graders to take the survey than we've ever seen. So we know that there's an interest in this information. It is important that we get the results of these surveys to families so that they can have those conversations with their students, with their teachers. And so we are making that a priority. You will see the results from the first semester panorama surveys distributed to your students this semester.
That's great news. I just think it gives parents more tools. You know, I always like to know if my kid's struggling with X, Y, or Z in their academics, and I'd like to know social and emotional.
And I always say, in the same way that we wouldn't go into a meeting about a student's reading scores or math scores without data to support our positions, the same thing here. We wouldn't go into a meeting to discuss SEL without providing data to support our positions, and we need to provide that data and will.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth?
That's all right. Is it okay if I add a follow-up to that, and just with the work for the Cornerstone Cadre? That's one thing that we valued when vetting all of the curriculum that we looked at and are now piloting. One big thing that we felt like we really needed was that communication piece home, because we want families to know what their kids are learning in the classroom so that you can continue those conversations. And so all 3 of the curriculum we are looking at has that piece. And so 2 more things. As a parent with children in the district, today in their folder, I got home the character strong character trait and some of the things that they will be learning this month to become more responsible. And so that was neat for me to say to my children, hey, what does this mean? Even though I already know what it means. But what does this mean, to hear what they say? But a value for us at Trail Ridge is to put everything we're teaching kids in our family newsletters. And so they get access to all of the lessons and to know what their kids are teaching. So let's say maybe your kid, your middle schooler, might be struggling with self-management at home. They can follow up with that conversation too. So that's a big important piece for us as we continue with SEL curriculum, is to give those skills and those pieces of your toolkit as a parent sent home with you.
Thank you.
All right, anything from our remote friends?
No question.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Just a quick thank you for the presentation. Very insightful. Over my 8 years, I've been very aware of and proud of this district and all the work that's gone into this. And I really want to emphasize that word work. I know this is a lot of work that goes into this. For some of these areas, it's uncharted territory, but we've been very intentional as a district, and I think we've made great progress with many opportunities ahead. But for now, at this point, I just want to say thank you for all of that hard work. I'm very proud of where we're at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Stratton. Thank you. Okay. All right, thank you very much for this report and this program update and all the work you do. Oh, Dr. Hubbard, yeah, I'm sorry.
Just real quick, I would just like to say thank you to all of you for being here tonight and away from your families. I appreciate you taking the time to be here, but most importantly, I appreciate you all for fighting the fight, because I know that sometimes we're criticized for this work publicly. I know our peers in the state are criticized for this work publicly, even as recently in, well, I'll leave that alone. But this work is really hard. It's not always easy, and it's a slow, long progress to make gains. And I feel like over the last 5 years of the strategic plan, we've made really significant gains in this work, and that's because we've been persistent. It's been slow and persistent, but we're seeing gains. So again, just thanks for being here, and thanks for fighting the fight, and for all the other equity practitioners listening and watching, and parents and PTAs and school administrators and other teachers and support staff that are helping with this work. We really appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. Okay, that brings us to our consent items 4.1 through 6.1. And if there is no motion to remove any consent items, could I get approval to, could I get a motion to approve?
Move approve, Borgman.
Thank you. Second? Second, Elsley. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, so that brings us to board comments. Okay, I'm going to jump in really quick again, jumping in first tonight. When Mr. Smith shared that our superintendent was nominated, was one of the 3 finalists for Superintendent of the Year, you were very humble in acknowledging your peers who were also in the running. And I was going to brag on you, and then I thought that wasn't really in that humble mode. But I do want to take just another moment to say that regardless, I think the work that you've done with the district is beyond exceptional. And you actually just kind of recapped some of my thoughts that I was going to share. There were, over this fall, in 2 different public or community meetings where you were presenting, and I happened to be at them too. Community leaders came up to me and just asked about this level. One used the word synergy, and the other kind of implied that, and just this recognition that there's this synergy in Shawnee Mission, and what's happening. And I attribute a lot of that to your leadership, dating back to building the strategic plan and all of that work, and kind of building systems in Shawnee Mission. So I just wanted to say thank you for your persistence, and you and this leadership team. It's making a big difference, and it's not been easy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, but all of these team members sitting in this room, and really I could attribute that to the 4,000 team members we have in the district, so it takes all of us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you and all of your work. Anyone else? Ms. Boyd-Norena.
Yes, 2 things. Let us not forget the culmination of the Hispanic Heritage Month, ending on October 15th. And as you all know, I am a practitioner of cybersecurity, so this is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Be safe online from all things good and bad. But Cybersecurity Awareness Month is all October, so be diligent in what you click on.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. That's it. Okay. Well, we'll call this meeting to an end and adjourn, and we'll see you again. Why can't I scroll down to see when our next meeting is? Next month, 23rd. At the end of this month, not next month. All right. Thank you all. Good night.